What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today is Friday, and stop that. And it is Farfetch'd Friday, and that means today we're going to take a look at a very unusual and, well, far-fetched way to potentially win. I mean, is this going to be something you're going to take to a regional or nationals and win? Well, I mean, I can't technically say no, but it would be pretty far. Well, you get the idea. All right, so to give you an idea of what we're working with today, we are going to be building a deck focused pretty much exclusively upon Rapidash. It's originally from Flashfire, but it did get reprinted with this amazing art. Can we just talk about how amazing that is for a minute? From Generations. And we're not even going to worry about its overrun attack. We're just concerned about its agility, which is 20 damage and a coin toss chance of complete invulnerability from attacks on the next turn, paired with a free retreat cost. 90 HP, who cares, right? Because after all, they're not going to be hitting you at all. And even if they do manage to hit you and knock you out in one hit, which is probably what will happen if they do actually make contact, well, I mean, hey, it's only one prize, and you can easily set up teammates on that. So 4 Rapidash, and not too surprisingly, we're going to be supporting that with 4 Ponyta. And Ponyta has the same agility attack, just dealing 10 less damage, but with a little bit of a retreat cost. And while this is certainly an amazing way to buy turns and deal minor amounts of chip damage, we're going to be looking to get that Rapidash up pretty quickly because we're pairing Rapidash with Ariados. Okay, it seems a little strange, but it does actually make a lot of sense. We're using that to augment our damage and really pressure our opponents to make difficult decisions about correct switches and things like that. What are we really trying to do? I mean, that's part of playing a far-fetched, unusual rogue deck, is to put your opponent in a situation where they're just not really sure what to do. The idea here is that, of course, we can Poisonous Nest, poison their Pokemon, poison our Rapidash, free retreat our Rapidash out, and just bring in another Rapidash to attack for a single energy and keep up our chain of agilities. So that's the basic concept there, no big deal. We also have 3 Spinarak, and what is interesting about Spinarak is it also has an attack that likes to toss a coin for a chance to pretty much probably not take any hits on the next turn, as paralyzing the defending Pokemon pretty much means they're not going to be doing much back to you. Now, that might not necessarily be that damaging to our opponents, except that we're also running 2 copies of Dragalge, the Flashfire Dragalge, which says that when your opponent's Pokemon are poisoned, they can't retreat. Now, yours still can, but theirs can't, which is pretty nice. We're just going to try to set up one of these guys, and that means that your opponent can be locked in by your Ariados, and then they'll be forced to deal with your Rapidash, which can be very unpleasant. We're also going to support it with 2 copies of the Skrelp from Breakpoint, which, once again, has a coin toss chance of being, well, really, really annoying. It won't deal any damage, but that's fine because decking our opponent out is a very strong secondary win condition for us. Our final Pokemon is Jirachi. This is Stardust Jirachi because he's got a guaranteed complete evasion for a turn ability paired in with his Stardust attack. If they've got a special energy, you can rip it off, which is, something that's going to slow your opponent down and at the same time guarantee you an agility effect. Doesn't even need the Trick Coin, which, I mean, if you hadn't figured it out already, we are running Trick Coin. Now, supporter-wise, we're going to run 3 Sycamore just because it is a very good supporter for us. Just bench pretty much every basic Pokemon you think you might need, definitely all the Ponytas. And then you can puke your hand once or twice with Sycamore. It's all right. We should be able to manage that as long as you don't get rid of like all your Rapidashes or something. We're also running 3 Ends. It's very good card drawing and just a nice way to kind of mess with your opponent's hand, potentially mess up their setup, etc. Just really good for us, bottom line. We're running 1 Teammates. Obviously, it's versus Seeker fodder, and it's a great way to take advantage of when your agilities do fail and they succeed in knocking you out. This way, you can just definitely guarantee a setup on the next turn and just keep on chugging along. We're also running 1 Skyla. In many ways, she operates as kind of a backup teammates because she can get you, well, a lot of the things you're going to want. We can access with some of our one-of items in the deck. And she can, well, she's Skyla. She can access all kinds of unique things, and you'll kind of see her usefulness a little bit later. And we are running 2 copies of Wally. This is, in some ways, you can accelerate into something like Ariados on turn 1, which is certainly nice, but also it's just a way to search our deck for evolutions and put them down. So it's kind of a twofold power card there in that regard. And it's a nice versus secret target sometimes, but hitting it in the early game is often when it matters most. We have Team Rocket's Handiwork, just 1. But our opponents may not be entirely certain of our backup game plan. Like I say, most of the time we're going to be probably falling back on plan B, which is deck out. And this can be an amazing way to ensure the deck out. While we're just kind of stalling, this can ensure that it happens. I mean, and don't be afraid to versus Seeker this 2 or 3 times to make sure that it does its job. I mean, just when our opponents are ready to wail in despair from having to deal with a 75% accurate agility every turn, then they're going to have to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm losing all of a sudden 2 or 4 cards off the top of my deck, and that's problematic. And like I say, it's just a way to make your opponents really worry and really get confused. It's just a fun card, because, well, yeah. Anyway, we're running 4 copies of Trick Coin for all the very, very obvious reasons. It just makes our agility incredibly likely to succeed, which is awesome. We're running 4 copies of Versus Seeker. That's pretty much standard everywhere, guys. It's just that good. We're also running 4 Trainer's Mail because we definitely do want to hit a lot of our items and supporters early. Because we have to run so many multiples of things, we don't want to necessarily get a hand that kind of stalls on us for a couple turns, because that could be pretty disastrous. So these definitely help increase our consistency by finding lots of items and supporters, such as our 4 level balls. We don't actually run any ultra balls at all. I mean, after all, level ball gets us pretty much everything we could want. Everything in the deck is a level ball target with the exception of Dragalge, and we only need 1 Dragalge. And we'll either draw it manually, or we can always search it out via Wally, or we can use Versus Seeker to go into Wally, things like that if we discard Wally to Professor Sycamore, etc. So, and we don't absolutely have to have the Dragalge either, so Level Ball is definitely our search of choice. Now, here's a one-of that's quite nice for Skyla, and that is Evo Soda. It's also a teammate's one-of target as well. And it's basically a Wally that you can search and play in the same turn. And it's a nice way to search things. Well, you can't necessarily set up the same turn you bench your basic Pokemon. A lot of times that won't necessarily be that much of an obstacle. So it's a nice backup. And speaking of backups, we also run 1 Professor's Letter because we're kind of low on energy. And this can make sure we've got those attachments to keep our agilities going, as after all, the last thing we want is to miss an agility because we just didn't have the energy. We also have Super Rod. In case our energy gets really short, we can stuff some back into our deck, which is quite nice. And if we ditch the wrong things too much early in the game, like evolutions or basics, we can put them back in our deck to make sure that we just keep on going. Now, the stadiums are the only place where it's a little tricky. I prefer Mountain Ring to run 3 just to keep our opponents from using that as sort of a backup win con where they can chip away at our Ariadoses and Dragalges and knock them out. But you can also run Training Center if you prefer, as a way to just buff all your Pokemon, since all the evolutions in the deck, of course, gain that 30 HP bonus from Training Center, but it is ultimately up to you. Like I say, personally, I think I want to go with Mountain Ring, but you know your local meta a little bit better than I do, so you can tell me what you think would belong in it. Stop it. And finally, we are running 8 Fire Energies, and that's really all you need. And you could arguably run less than these 8 basic Fire Energies, but the reason we are opting to run 8 is so that we can have a better chance of just drawing them manually. Because once again, we don't want to necessarily run too much search, but we want to make sure that we have them when we need them and can keep those agilities coming every single turn. And we might have to burn 1 or 2 to retreat if our opponent Lysanders or something like that. So anyway, that is the deck. Give it a try. It is a lot of fun. It's kind of far-fetched, but decks like that are a lot of fun to win with when you do win with them. And it always makes it totally worth the while. So anyway, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, tweet me on Twitter. Link is below as always, and I will see you next time.